It is certainly my privilege to recognize some of our very important guests today, and I would like to begin by recognizing Ben Williams, who is a member of the school board. Mr. Williams, thank you so much for being here. From the city, I'd like to recognize, first of all, Mayor Griffin. Thank you, Mayor, for being here. Our Vice Mayor Skolnick. We have Commissioner Phillips, who is also here representing this district. And I'd also like to recognize Bob Shelley, who is also a city commissioner. And we want to thank these elected representatives for taking their time to be present with us and share this important ceremony with us. As we continue this groundbreaking, at this time I'd like to ask Mayor Griffin if he would please come forward and offer a welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Before I commence my remarks, all those that are very familiar with this area in Pompano Beach, do you recall what was on this site just a few years ago? An old beat-up house, no roof on it, big old tree where everybody sat and congregated, and look at it now. We talk about progress in the city of Pompano Beach. Need to smile, Ernestine. Good morning. On behalf of the City Commission, I want to welcome you to this groundbreaking ceremony of Northwest 6th Avenue Roadway Improvement Project. I am pleased that you have come to join with us in this ceremony to mark the beginning of the construction phase of this project. It has taken us several years to get to this point, and it'll be at least 2 more years before we can actually come back to this location and cut the ribbon. I look forward to seeing you back here when all the work is done. This is going to be a magnificent project, and one that we'll be all proud of. As we begin the construction of this project, I believe it most important to remember that the road to success is always under construction, and this project will be yet another contribution to the success of our city. It is indeed the gateway to Blanche Ely High School on a roadway that bears the name of Blanche Ely. I can only imagine how pleased Mrs. Ely would be if she were here today to take part in this ceremony. Not because of a high school or roadway named after her or a museum in her honor, but with a sense of accomplishment and pride in her community, with satisfaction and pleasure in the unity of purpose for which we gather, and with memories of days past. And yet with renewed hopes and aspirations that the success we enjoy today will lead to even a greater and better future for all of us together. Today is yet another beginning rather than an end. I take pride in being part of this undertaking as part of our continuing efforts to build bridges and roadways from the past to the present and on to the future. We will still have a long way to go. As we move forward and closer to creating one truly united city, let us do so with a look to the future, but never forgetting the past. One of the great strengths of our city is our rich diversity. It is altogether fitting and proper that as we improve the city's infrastructure with projects like Northwest 6th Avenue, that we do so in a way that enhances the neighborhoods in which this project is built. I want to thank everyone for coming out there this morning. There haven't been so many people involved in this project, and at this point, in your presence at this ceremony is yet another indication of your commitment to improving the quality of life in our city. And that brings me to say again, isn't it great to be in Pompano Beach? Thank you and God bless.
Mayor, thank you very much for those words. We appreciate it. At this time, I'd like to ask that the District Commissioner from District 4, Commissioner Ed Phillips, if he'd please come forward and offer some remarks.
Thank you very much indeed. This is a momentous occasion. I'm very pleased and proud to stand before you today on this groundbreaking ceremony as a District Commissioner for District 4. It gives me the opportunity to acknowledge the past leadership and initiatives of the City Commission, and in particular former Commissioner E. Pat Larkins, who is present. It has been my pleasure to continue to work, and I want to thank my fellow commissioners for their continued effort and support of this project. This project represents the culmination of more than 4 years of planning and design work by the city staff and engineering consultants. But more importantly, it represents the product of a community-wide partnership involving not only the city, but the members of the business community, state, federal agencies, neighborhood associations, interested citizens, the county, school board, and others. I have been tremendously impressed by all those who have been involved in this effort. This is quite a unique project in its own right, and I don't believe there have been another project like this in the city's history. I'm going to deviate from my written script here and say that this is a historic event, not only for those folks who are here today, but this community. This is a project that epitomizes hope. This is a project that says to everyone throughout Broward, this county, this nation, that this city, this community can come together and achieve what I consider greatness. I will say to you today that no longer will we say, look at Delray. I will say to you today that from this moment on, it will be, look at Pompano. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner, and it's my pleasure and also my opportunity to offer some remarks as well. And I'd like to start out on a point of personal privilege by saying it was in 1996 when Mr. Roy Rogers, Roy, will you stand up, please? Glad you're here, Roy. Mr. Roy Rogers and I, at that time, Roy was working for Arvida, had quite a reputation for enhancing communities and success in building projects, and I had asked Roy to come to Pompano Beach and to drive Northwest 6th Avenue for me as we were beginning to think about what we could do. I recall it was raining that day, and we drove up and down the road, and our comments were, if we really didn't know where we were, we probably would have turned around and left. And from that, we certainly concluded we can do better, and things actually developed from that point. And I wanted to acknowledge Roy's part in the very beginning of this project. I also want to say that Northwest 6th Avenue is more than just a roadway project. It is my hope that these improvements will serve for the transformation of this entire corridor from Atlantic Boulevard all the way to 15th Street. I think it is extremely significant that the name of Blanche Ely, that it bears the name of Blanche Ely, and it is the entranceway to Blanche Ely High School. It's also significant that this project has received support from all sections of the city. It's also significant that the improvements to Northwest 6th Avenue was a major goal in the community visioning process. It's further significant that the roadway is a major transportation corridor that carries and embodies the ethic and historic values of this community. To that end, I had instructed the design engineers not only to incorporate those traditional improvements of curb, gutter, sidewalk, storm drainage, paving, lighting, and landscaping, but to also develop a theme for the project that would reflect the cultural and historic values of the neighborhood, and to make sure that the final product was one that we would all be proud of. A young African-American intern working for the planners came up with the idea of using a color scheme on the roadway inspired by kente, a color pattern made by the Ashanti tribe in Ghana. And I can't tell you how pleased I am that after 3 years, that young planner, Jeremy Earl, is back in Pompano Beach today, and I have asked him if he would share with us at least his thoughts as he was assigned this task and what brought him to the point we're at today. So Jeremy, if you would, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor, Commissioners. It is, community residents, it is my pleasure to be here today. When I got the call, when I was asked to come in and say a few words, I didn't even have to think twice about it. This project excites me. It literally excites me. I really have to give just a lot of thanks and gratitude to the city staff who've worked to bring this project to fruition, as well as the design staff, the engineers and other architects and landscape architects who worked hard to bring this to pass. When I first drove to this community 3 years ago, I think the commissioner said it well. All I could see was hope, and that's literally all I could see when I came here. And in trying to do something, in trying to help to revitalize the community, one of my questions was, well, what can we do? I mean, are we going to stay with the same standard things that we always do, or can we do something different? And so one thing I did was I said, well, what can we use to basically tell a story, or to tell a story of the values, beliefs of the people within the community, as well as the larger community on a whole. And so I chose to use the Kente patterns, because as many of you know, the Kente is not just a pattern, it is a metaphor. It represents culture, it represents history, it represents philosophy, represents all kind of values that represent this community. I mean, from Martin Luther King Boulevard, where we're using the pattern for courageous leadership, self-sacrifice, to patterns further up the road where we're using the patterns for spiritual vitality and community, the patterns that we're using for community bond, for, again, all of these patterns which, again, tell a story not just of African American history, but of the community on a whole. And it was my pleasure to be able to do something that also tells a story and speaks to the fact that African Americans or Africans have made a contribution to architecture, to science, to philosophy, and this was my opportunity to do something that would reflect that would show it. And so I'm not going to take up much more of the city manager's time, but again, it excites me. I believe in my heart that this is the beginning of something big for this community. When you walk down the streets, you will be able again to see patterns again that reflect not only just history and culture and spirituality, and I hope that in the end, the product will be judged by you. And please let me know, any feedback and any comments. But again, it was my pleasure to serve you. It's my pleasure to be here today, and I want to thank you very much.
I wish that you could have been present the day that Jeremy first made his presentation and recommendation to us. It was a spine-tingling performance, and I want to thank him again for being here. In keeping with the Kente pattern, through the residential neighborhoods, the Abusa Yedam pattern is going to be used to signify strong family bond, value of the family unit, and collective work. In the vicinity of Martin Luther King Boulevard, the Toko Kratoma pattern will be used to signify leadership, historic deeds, self-sacrifice, and spiritual rebirth. Near Blanche Ely High School, the Ima Da pattern will be used to signify creative ingenuity, uniqueness, achievements. And the Nayan Kontan pattern will be used in the vicinity of the churches to signify beauty, gracefulness, divine creativity, and uniqueness. In partnership with the school board, the city is moving forward to acquire and demolish the Parkway East apartments and provide for the expansion of Ely High School. In partnership with Broward County, the location of a bus transfer facility at Dixie Highway and Martin Luther King Boulevard is progressing, and as proposed is to include child care and job training. The city is continuing to move forward with the acquisition of land along Martin Luther King Boulevard for business development and the potential relocation of a multi-purpose center. Certainly, there are enough kudos to go around on this project, from the Advisory Committee of Citizens to the Chamber of Commerce to the city, and on and on. But there's a special thanks, I think, that we need, all of us need to give this morning to a group without whose approval this project would not be possible. So I would ask you at this time to join me in thanking the members of the City Commission for their vision and for their support of this very important project.